All right, guys, welcome back. I am going to be talking about Unit 4 and Unit 5 when we are discussing the Arizona Deer Draw 2023. So the applications are open. It is ready to roll. You can apply online today. Takes about 15 minutes. You do have to buy a hunting license before you apply, or at least have a hunting license number from your previous draw that is qualifiable to apply for this one, which means your license has to be valid through the deer draw on June 6th, the deadline, which is June 6th. Anyway, guys, we're going to jump right in for Unit 4, Unit 5. So the first video I did was Unit 1, 2, and 3, kind of an overview. I'm not going to really get too specific on some of these units that are pretty straightforward, and there's just not a whole lot to them, whether trophy-wise or terrain-wise. I will dive in deeper on some units that have a lot more hype, like Kaibab units 12A, 12B, Unit 13A, 13B, and everything in between. Some of those units where you can really shoot something special, and you may need a little bit more bonus point action to get qualified to do that. But for some of these units, I'm just going to kind of give an overview so you understand what it is, especially if you're looking on an application and you're like, what's the difference between 4? What's the difference between Unit 4 and Unit 6? Or 6A and 6B, what's the difference between, just trying to educate you guys so you know what to expect, especially if it's your first time applying and you see the draw odds are reasonable for you, whether you're resident or non-resident. Really, you at least want to have an idea in case you get lucky and you do draw a tag on your first time or just with a few points. You want to have an idea before on your first and second choices, whether you're going to get drawn for a unit that you have some kind of education about, some kind of knowledge about, whether it is just e-scouting or online versus like actually boots on the ground. So sorry, that was long-winded. Unit 4, Unit 5. So guys, again, like Unit 1, 2, and 3, these are primarily elk units. Now, they do give out a lot of deer tags for these units, relatively speaking, because they're not giant units, but they give out a few hundred tags for each of these units. These units are primarily heavily pined on the southern end of each unit. These units are like Unit 4. They're basically the same. They all run the same line, kind of on the Mogollon Rim there, and they are very, very similar terrain-wise. You have pines, heavy, thick pine, ponderosa pine forests that graduate into juniper kind of rolling hills type country with deeper canyons, but nothing really crazy as far as elevation or big mountain ranges. So the approach and the idea behind hunting these units is similar. So whether it's 4A, 4B, or 5A, 5B, all of that kind of stuff, if you are physically limited or you are just driving around to try to shoot something that is legal, which is any antler deer that is where the antlers are protruding from the skin, I think that's the law. Maybe it has to be an inch or two. I would not suggest you shoot a baby buck, but what I'm saying is guys that drive around in the pines, the lower end, are basically looking for a road huntable deer, a spike fork that's hanging out with a bunch of does, because that's what they do. They're not very smart, these spikes that hang out with groups of does, making them very easy to locate and easy to shoot from your truck, because these units are very accessible. You can drive them, you can camp at almost anywhere, especially on the southern end, in that Apache National Forest. Very, very easy accommodations. The Coconino Forest too as well. That's kind of Unit 5. But anyway, it's all very similar terrain. You can camp, you can have your trailers, you can have your big camp setups, and you can drive your trucks and quads basically all around the area. So let's separate the elk stuff. So these mule deer will cohabitate with elk. They're going to be in the elk. Just because you see elk does not mean that there are not going to be mule deer, but the bigger bucks, more mature bucks that have survived getting shot at as spikes and forks hanging around the does, understand that they need to be away from a lot of visible critters like groups of does that are easily seen, or even elk, that people will stop and look at. So the bigger, more mature mule deer bucks will be in a little bit less traffic areas. So they will be in some of those canyons that run north-south in 5A and 5B, or east-west. I get my directions a little mixed up. That is very, very an honest truth there. I'm not very directionally oriented. Anyway, so these bucks like to get into some of that country where the elk aren't going to survive or live quite as much. These elk do survive in crazy places, but where the elk live year round is typically around a lot of water, and mule deer just flat don't need as much water as the elk do. Mule deer, especially in the wintertime, they may not water for a few days, and especially a stressed out big mature mule deer buck, he may not water for a week or more. So especially with really healthy years like we've had last 2 years, as far as rainwater, feed, all of that, these bucks can survive stressed out environments without bringing themselves into a vulnerable position and get into water, especially during daylight hours. So obviously the first thing that bucks will do when they are stressed and pushed is they will stop watering during the day. They will water at night. And if they're extremely pushed, they will water less frequently, 3 to 7 days really. So if I was drawing these units, if I'm looking to hunt these units for a mature buck, I would definitely focus similarly as the previous units in 1, 2, and 3. I would focus on the northern end of both 4 and 5. Where the junipers it becomes juniper country. You can get some elevation, you can glass. There's more water tanks that are spread out. The elk populations are a little bit diminished up there. They're not quite as heavy up in the northern regions just because of just the environment, the water, the grazing, all that kind of stuff. So I would focus my attention on getting into some of that country, really getting boots on the ground and understanding where these bucks are via tracks on water holes, because they may be watering at night, but if you do your scouting correctly, you'll understand where these bucks are hitting their water, and you can kind of triangulate where they're living and feeding and kind of, making their patterns, and also getting up there in the summer where it's all green grass and these bucks are just kind of lounging around, eating and drinking all day, and really bachelored up. They won't be too far away from what they do in the summer as to what they do in the winter. It's just, like I said, it's a frequency issue, not as much traffic. They won't make themselves more vulnerable into water holes when they get pushed and they get hard horns. So definitely, if you draw guys, which we will find out in a month or so, typically, early July or mid-July, good to get up there and do a little scouting in August. Maybe get yourself a archery deer tag if it is open for those units for you, and do a little pre-scouting. Obviously, if you shoot a buck with your bow, you cannot hunt with a rifle in the same year. We have an annual deer limit, so keep that in mind. And maybe you just want to get up there and scout, or bring a buddy and scout up there in August in some of these units. But my main way to educate and do this is showing you guys draw odds and terrain features, that kind of stuff with the mapping, and just understand, hey, what it takes to draw as a resident and non-resident. So I hope that helps. I'm just kind of giving an overview again. Like I said, with some of these units, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into some of the units that have a lot more attention, give you reasons why and kind of where to focus. And if you do get lucky and draw one of these Arizona deer tags, that is a place to start. So again, these bucks in Unit 5 and Unit 4 are in that 150 to 180 class range, 180 being kind of the upper end, really. Obviously, that being said, you can always get freaks, especially when there's really, really good rain like we've had the last 2 years. You can find something that has definitely survived and really blown up and maxed out their genetics. So I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen a couple 200-inch deer come out of these more elk-centric units this year. So hope that helped, guys. I hope you really get excited about the deer draw this year as I am because of all of the rain. And also, you know what? Deer is a lot easier to draw in a lot of cases than elk. So unlike elk, where you don't have to shoot for the moon quite as much, you can hunt deer a lot more frequently here in Arizona and really understand and be successful from a year-to-year basis. You know, you can plan on hunting every couple of years in some of these areas, and it's just fantastic. So Arizona's got a lot of good opportunities in that aspect. So good luck this year, guys. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below. I will try to get to those as soon as I can. Also, I link my stuff in the description below. Any kind of outfitting, guiding, drop camp, scouting stuff you're ever interested in. If you draw, hit me up. I am more than happy to help you guys if I have room. All right, talk to you guys later. We'll be talking about unit 6A and 6B next video. See ya.